because I listened to your podcast and it sounds great.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, it's like super clear.
Because you know
nice.
sound.
Yeah, I know. But when I listened to it, I was like, oh my God, this sounds like really good. So
Okay.
I'm like, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Yes. Sound compliments.
I know you're going to do awesome. So I'm so excited.
I know you're going to do awesome. So it's all good.
Okay. The 5 Elements of Letting Go, the podcast. Discussing mental health openly and freely, and learning tools and techniques to find peace. Well, welcome everyone to the 5 Elements of Letting Go. I'm Dr. McCollum, and this is Maddison Krebs.
Hello.
Hi. Just a little introduction. Maddison, I've known you since you were, I think, 11 or 10, 12, something like that.
10. Yeah.
Patient here at the clinic, and your mother and aunt left you here alone with me one afternoon.
Which I was just fascinated by your office.
Yeah.
With all the Buddha statues everywhere. I was like, man, who is this guy?
Yeah.
It was awesome.
And I had known your mom for a little bit, but I was just like, I hope everyone's okay, because your aunt was late picking you up. But
oh, I know.
I'll never forget that day.
Yeah, I remember that clearly, actually, when you bring it up, and that wasn't a rare occurrence, to say the least, in our family household.
So a little bit about Maddison, everyone. Not only is she an incredible human being, sweet spirit, old soul, all those wonderful things, but she's a brilliant musician.
Thanks.
And we play a few of her songs here in the clinic on our playlist.
Yes, I do happen to be laying there with needles in my back, and I hear my voice. And I'm like, oh, these people are awesome. This is great. So.
Well, we hope we picked songs you really liked.
No, you guys have the covers on here, and I'm like, oh, this works for the vibe. I like it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Okay,
so,
perfect.
Yeah.
So we will put all of Maddison's info, in the description and everything later on. But you can listen to all her music on Spotify, on Apple Music, all of that stuff. She's when you were younger, everyone referred to you as a young. What was that? Who's that one singer, that country singer that I can remember everyone kept referring to you as? I'm trying to remember her name. She's fairly famous. But anyway, I can't remember it, but that's what people always told me.
Some country singer.
Yeah. And so you did quite a bit of country stuff.
Yeah.
And you kind of...
old school vibe.
Yeah. And now you're on a new sound. Yeah.
I've definitely broadened my wings, let's say. I was in Nashville. I graduated high school, and you've obviously watched this journey. Mm-hmm. Graduated high school, and then I did some traveling, and then I ended up signing a record deal at 19 and a publishing deal, and it brought me to Nashville. And so I packed my bags, and I went down there, and it was crazy because even as a little girl, my parents were really great with, just instilling really great, the ability of envisioning your future and what do you want and what fills your cup, and always letting us be creative in the household. And that's music for me. I found that. And so we had these dream books, and one of them for me was I would love to have a record deal or a publishing deal one day. Mm-hmm. And that happened for me. And I packed my bags and I put the check mark in my dream book, and I was like, woohoo, I'm moving to Nashville too. That's another dream. And and I, prior to that, I was kind of, I guess, in the more, everyone knew me as the old school country vibe, right? Mm-hmm. And I love old school, even just classic music in general. I feel like it just rings true to me, and just even the melodies and stuff. But I started to broaden my wings and just kind of break down boundaries in terms of genre for me. And I found a lot of discovery in that space. And that was when I went down to Nashville and started meeting people that I really resonated with sonically and just musically. And so I released a record, I guess, 2 years ago now. And it's definitely a lot different than what I released when I was 14. Mm-hmm. And I think even just the future stuff that I will release even for my next records, well, I'm going to continue evolving. And it's just kind of a reflection of myself. Like, and I think music has always been that for me. And every record is going to be different. Yeah. Right.
Well, and that's what makes it good, because then it feels authentic. You have that energy and passion in it. You know, I think often too many, artists, especially young artists, their sound is manufactured.
Totally. Yeah.
And then the next album, okay, can we replicate this manufacturing of music? But those that last, those that, they've been around forever, they're creating what's in their soul at that time and speaking their emotions through their music.
Yeah. And I think what really resonated with me for, I guess, that timeless country, the like 1950s, 60s era for me was that timelessness and that longevity in the music. Yeah. And how the artists still stood so well in this time and age with their messages and their music. And you look at like Dolly Parton too, like she's still killing it. Yeah. Right? And her music still is like meeting the ears of really young, younger listeners, right? And I think that's just so inspiring. And so I guess, it's just my goal at that time when I was 14, I was just like, well, I just want to create something timeless. And then now it's like, okay, but what is like my soul? Like what do I hear in here? Yeah. Right? And so I wanted to reflect that a little bit more sonically and maybe a little bit different than my previous records, right? So, and I dabbled in the pop worlds too, because there's a lot of synth type sounds that I really love that I think really resonated with what I was hearing in my head. Yeah. So,
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we all look forward to more.
Yeah. I do too. I'm like, whenever this, I can, start creating and go travel again, this will be awesome. But I think this COVID era, it's been interesting. Some artists, they're like, I'm totally not creative right now. And then some are like, I am like creative, right? Yeah. And it's interesting to see each artist how, this time and age, like what's going on right now and how it affects your creativity, right? But for me, it's really, for a bit, it was really hard to create because when you're in that state of like almost fight or flight, it's really hard to create. But as things have kind of moved along, I feel a sense of freedom coming in, which is really inspiring and fun. So. Oh,
that's so cool. It's interesting. Like, so within Chinese medicine, we've had talks, some of this stuff with the liver and gallbladder. This is the anger is emotion, frustration, all this, which there's been a lot of. But what's interesting is one of the things that gets that energy moving, one of the actions is creativity. So
I hold so much in my liver, and that. Yeah. So I guess I'm doing something right with the music, because me, I like my liver, like I hold so much stuff in there, like energy wise too. I feel it all the time too. And it's music is a good way to get it out, and acupuncture, of course.
Yeah. Well, and you think about it, those that are holding that they're stuck. Yeah. And they're not feeling creative. What's the predominant mood? They're angry and frustrated with themselves and the situation, and they're just feeding off of that, whether that's, writer's block for an author or a songwriter. It's the same kind of thing where they can get caught up in that energy rather than thinking, oh, well, starting at any point in creativity will help getting that flowing and getting me feel better. And then once I feel better, then it really flows. And
because there's always this idea, which, like, for a lot of artists, like, you have to, like, suffer to make music, right? And maybe for some people that's totally the case, but for me, it's so not true. Like, it's so hard for me to create when I'm in a place of fear or worry, or like, if I'm going through something and I'm all up here instead of here, it's so hard to get into that flow state sometimes, right? And to create and even like write how I'm feeling sometimes, right? But for some artists, they're like, oh yeah, I love that space. I'm like, I cannot do it. I don't know what you're talking about.
And maybe it's a reflection of the type of the tone and the emotion that comes out of their music.
Totally.
Because yours is this light, free floating, just like a kind of, there's some passion in your music, but it's not vengeful or angry or,
No, it's not. It's really not.
But say like someone like, not to throw her out here under the bus, but what's her name? That pop singer who always writes songs about the boyfriend she just broke up with.
Oh, Taylor?
Yeah, Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Where she's got these like angry anthems,
right.
Girl anthems, which in the right space at the right time are great songs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But
I've rocked out to lots of those.
Yeah. But she thrives off that energy.
Totally.
Right.
Yes,
so I wonder if she almost sets herself up.
You know what? Maybe
not consciously, but subconsciously in a way.
Well, I know for a lot of artists, it definitely, and like those kind of situations, like love is a great thing to talk about, it's something that people can relate to on so many levels, right? And so her experiences, obviously, people are like, yes, Taylor, sing it, right? But I know for me, it's like, I don't know. I love to write in a space of gratitude. I really do. And I think my last record, I was a little bit sad. Which I think for my next record, I feel this gratitude space that I'm really, I don't know, I just want to create from that space. And that there can be some sadness and melancholy in that. And I think that's part of the healing too. But, I for the next one, I definitely feel this new era of just freedom and gratitude that I'm going to be singing from. But.
Yeah. It's interesting. So the topic of this podcast is always on, it's about emotion. It's about dealing with our mental health and all of that. How do you feel music, it might do it better than every day, because we just don't talk about mental health enough.
Yeah.
How do you feel music does with that conversation and that discussion of mental health?
For music, I think it's a space where it's a universal language for me. I know just personally, and you can reach someone's heart in a matter of seconds with a song. And it can lift somebody up out of whatever space they're in or make them feel like, oh yeah, that's me, right? And I think part of mental health is knowing that you're not alone in this, right? And I think that's what music does for people is like, hey, we're all in this together. We're all going through the same shit in different ways, right? Yeah. And I think that's the power of music is it really brings you to the playing space, right? And it's like, I'm here. And even even vibration wise, like just the octave or wherever key it is in is set to a different mood too, right? If you think of binaural beats or whatever too, you can reach someone neuropathically wise. And I think music is an amazing healing tool for mental health. And it, even for different artists, how they express what they're going through. And it just kind of puts down the walls immediately and has been doing that for a long time.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. But I think people now are having more conversation one-on-one, which is super healthy. And I think it's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. I know with myself as a kid, there's always, even now, I separate my music not by genres, but by moods.
Yeah.
So if I'm in this mood or I want to change this mood to this mood, I need to listen to this type of music.
Yeah.
To pull me into that space or remind me of it. Of course, when I was a kid, I listened to Metallica and The Cult, DOA,
all the rebellious edge that you needed in your life at that time.
Public Enemy, all this stuff where you're letting out this teenage angst and anger.
Totally.
Because I was an angry kid. And, and then you find that as I aged and let go of those things, then I was able to shift and my music taste changed quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it, at will, I've always had a fairly varied music taste, but, now it's much more balanced than it's ever been. Cool. I can listen to just about anything. But I find that, music, I'm sure everyone that's listening right now can think of a song that if they hear, it's going to make them joyous. Or there's one that brings back painful memories or some angst and sadness.
It's a memory bank. Music is a memory bank. I've always like throughout my life, my goal or anything is like, or any way I can be of service is to be like, can I just be my songs be a part of somebody's memory bank in a positive way or whatever way that will help them heal or move forward in their life. Right. Yeah. And I think that's such a cool way of even just looking at your life as like, what were you listening to during that time? Right. Yeah. And it kind of reflects somebody's feelings and their emotions and what they were going through too. Right. And I would say for me too, right now, what I'm listening to is very vibey, very like, I don't know, just cool and easy, right? And it definitely reflects, my, I guess, soul level, how I feel on a regular basis. Yeah. I don't know if it's really what my like mental space is always all the time, but it's definitely, definitely on a soul, like true self level. I'm the cool and easy and take it easy. Not the upper brain, but so. Yeah.
It's so wild too, because I remember sometimes, like when I was studying for board exams or, when I was in university, I would, when I'm studying a certain subject or a certain test, I would always listen to either the same song.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Or the same genre.
Yeah.
And then, the same few songs, the same playlist while I'm working on that. And then I would always listen to it again before the test.
Yeah. Yeah.
And almost kind of get me back in that headspace and that body space of studying and going over those things.
Yeah.
And it's almost like I could, hum or think of the song in my head and concepts would come back.
Yeah. My memory's great when it comes to music. Like, literally, I'm like, but when it comes to math, I was like, just not good at all. But
I'm right there with you, sister.
Literally. I'm just the artsy fartsy one, especially in my family, and everyone's like, has some math touch in them. And I'm like, no, that's definitely not me. But I wish I used music to help me. I don't even know if you could use music to help you with math. I don't know.
I'm sure it's the same kind of thing.
1 + 1.
There you go. There's your new thing. You're going to compose songs to help people with trigonometry.
No, do not come to me for that. Do not, honestly. Yeah.
That would be so weird.
That would.
But I remember when I was a kid, like music is crazy that like when we were little ones, like if we got lost or anything, because my mom had 7 kids.
Yeah.
And we were just feral things running around everywhere. And if we got lost or needed anything, my mom made us memorize a song.
Oh, that's cool.
Do you want me to sing it for you?
Yes, please. I'm just like, I want to hear this song.
So it's I know my number, my telephone number. Want me to sing it to you? I know my number, my telephone number. Want me to sing it for you? 273-9260. 273-9260. And it keeps, this song goes on. There's one more thing, but.
Okay, keep going.
No, I can't even remember now. But I will never forget that phone number from when I was a little kid.
Crazy.
Because of that silly song.
That makes sense. Like kids, the first thing they learn is like nursery rhymes and stuff, right? So if you want your kid to remember like your phone number if they get lost, that's genius.
And how many people, when they're trying to alphabetize something, like, when you used to work here at the clinic, when you would put a file away,
right?
Did you sing the ABC song to try to?
Oh, no, I did not. Not when I was working here. I was like, where does this go?
I still do that when I'm trying to find something alphabetically, because I'd be like,
oh, yeah, I go through A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G. But I would sing the song, too.
Yeah.
To kind of go through, okay, where is it in the alphabet?
Yeah. No, I totally get what you're talking about right now. Genius. Your mom's genius, man. I'm going to remember that. Seriously.
Yeah. You'll teach it to your kids.
My future ones.
Yeah.
Yes. That's awesome. I love that.
But there's interesting how, music, again, just moving along with the emotional connection with music.
Yeah.
How, not only if we're in that dark place already, music, I would say it's very similar to alcohol.
Okay.
And let me explain.
Elaborate.
This. Yes. In that, so if you're in a bad mood and you drink alcohol, it puts you in a worse mood. It always seems to accentuate the mood you're in. If you're in a playful, light mood and you drink alcohol, you're the crazy, fun drunk. Everyone's having a great time with you. If you're depressed and you drink alcohol, it will make the depression worse.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I see it.
If you're angry and you drink alcohol, you turn into a mean drunk, right? And with our moods, if we are in a dark place and we listen to dark stuff, music, it just accentuates that feeling in a way almost. It's very similar where we can use music, in a different way, that when we're in those dark places emotionally or, or we can use that music to pull us into that. And if we're in a good place and we put on, this dark foreboding music or this angry, music, it can pull us into that place if we're not careful.
For sure. Actually, I totally agree on some level with that because I know that music can change your state really quickly. It's just like how I know for like if you're wanting to, like if you're in a worrisome mood or you're like anxious, you try to you try to learn how to change your state in movement or listening to sound or just getting you into that present moment, right? And I totally agree how like music can accentuate emotions because if I listen to a depressing song, I'm there.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm a hardcore empath, so I'm like, oh, yeah, I feel that right in the gut.
Yeah.
Right? But also, like, yeah, I totally see where you get into, like, that. I don't know, because when I've been in. No. Because when you listen to, like, a happy song, you're usually like, oh, yeah, like, this is. After a while, you're like, oh, yeah, I start to feel this. Right? It gets it gets in your body.
Yeah.
Right? So I totally get what you're talking about.
I know for myself, it does that. So, something will come on and I'll be like, I'm not in the mood to listen to that now because it'll take me to that place.
Ooh.
I want to stay in an upbeat place.
Right, in a different
So I'm not going to listen to any Nine Inch Nails today. I'm going to put that aside.
I'm not going to rage. Do some hardcore head bobbing.
But it's like that. That's what it is for me. So I have to. I almost have to be a little careful what I'm listening to because it'll pull me into that place if I'm not there.
Yeah, and I think that relates. I can even relate that to my own writing too, because if I'm in a darker space or just a lower mindset, it's. As I said, it like writing about it, sometimes it really helps because it gets it out. But as I said before, it's really hard for me to create in that space too. But I see how you can get pulled in when you're there and it's very easy. Yeah.
It's interesting with just about everyone I've interviewed so far, we've kind of talked about, okay, what are the tools or the things that you use to help you kind of let go? Tom talked about journaling and how, kind of getting that out, writing it out, getting out of his head. It must be, almost similar in a way to writing music, right?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, like, honestly, what I've learned, especially over the past, like, few years, I'm always in my head. Like, I'm always in my emotions because I'm an artist, right? And, like, and it's a beautiful thing. It really is. But it also I have an amazing imagination and it can take me to beautiful places, but also some like dark places too, right? It can get scary in there. And it's just like, I think, journaling is something that I've always done my entire life. And music has also been my way of like journaling as well. Yeah. But in a musical form. But to really shift my energy, even just to get me, if I'm in a lower mind state, to get me higher, I actually find like physical movement and like working out is a huge tool for me. Like I need to move, and that's why like dancing was so huge for me because I was still being artistic and like I was expressing my emotions, but I was moving, right? And so working out has been like huge. And then I found meditation has been like pivotal in my life because it's just like bringing me out of my head. Yeah. Right? Like journaling, I still find I'm still up here a bit. Whereas like with any sort of movement and getting in my body, I find I can shift my energy immediately.
Okay.
And it's beautiful. Like, I'm just like, yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Right? And then I can be creative. Right? So
Yeah, it's almost, because meditation is very quite anchoring.
yeah.
You know, anchoring the spirit and the body into the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because for my brain, it's like, since I have a crazy imagination too, and it's lovely because I can create really cool things out of it, but I can be in the future or in the past. And I think everyone has that, right? And what meditation does is it anchors you in your like being, right? And I feel I can be like the best version of myself when I'm here in flow.
Yeah.
Right? And I can create my best stuff in that space and perform for people. When I'm up in my head performing, it's the worst.
Yeah.
Like,
because then instead of just being and letting that flow of the music and your expression, you're like, oh, are they going to like this? Do they want me to do it this way?
yeah.
Have I said this already? You know, you start worrying
Well,
about all
you're
these things.
overanalyzing too, right? And it's like, I find I am my best when I'm right here, right? And it's like, I find that flow when I'm in music, when I'm meditating, when I'm dancing, or like, you know, any physical type stuff that I can get my energy out. Because I have a lot of it. I have a lot of energy. And it's like, I look calm and cool, but I have like so much energy. And it's like, if I'm not moving and creating, which I think meditation does, it's like, okay, you don't need to be like moving all over the place and thinking of all these things. You can just come into this present moment and align with your true self. And there are so many beautiful answers in there. And like all the things you need are right there, right? And I think that's been the most beautiful experience with learning how to meditate. And it's really healed me like crazy.
So how would you describe your meditation? What's your process? What does it look like?
Well, I've been dabbling over the past few years, but this past year specifically, because I kind of got a kick in the butt. And I was just like, I had a fire under me, and I was like, okay, I need to like really buckle down on my system here with mental health and just like have a routine that like sets me in a really great state for the rest of the day, or even for when I'm performing too, instead of being all up here. And Wim Hof method has been really amazing.
Wim Hof?
Yes.
Cool. Interesting.
Yes. Yeah. So I really started going hard at it in January, but I've been on and off of it for the past few years. Now my brother actually introduced me to his method. Yeah. And still have a hard time with the cold bath situation.
Yeah. See, it's funny. Like if you give me something to dive into or jump into, no problem. But the shower, I can do it, but it drives me a little crazy. I'd rather just jump in,
right?
You know,
and
rather than just having a little bit of cold hitting me here and there, and you know, then the cold air around you. I'd rather just jump in. Yeah. You know, I'll jump in lakes with ice in it and stuff. Yeah. I prefer that over just sitting in the cold shower.
Oh, see, I can totally do the cold shower. That situation, we did like a cold bath. Like my brother made one, and he was like, he wanted me to go do it. And he's like, Maddison, like, get in there. I'm like, no, I can't do it. And then finally I got in there, and it's like, it's crazy what your brain tricks, like how it tricks you. Like, and that's what the biggest learning lesson through even just the past few years for me is like, your brain is so powerful. It is wild. Like, and your thoughts are so, like, if you can train and like emotionally create this world in your brain that's, you know, that you like obviously want, it can work in your favor, right? And if you just keep training it, right? And it takes time. And that's what I'm realizing over the past few years is like, oh, I have the power to like really do something here and overcome these patterns that, you know, have maybe not helped me in the past, right? And Wim Hof and jumping into an ice cold bath is sometimes how you overcome those things, right? And like training your body too. And it's like a reaction.
Yeah. So how long can you hold your breath now?
I've gotten to 3:30.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, that shows your like singer lungs in there, because that's impressive.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near that.
Yeah. It's,
wow.
Man. And it's like when you get to that point, your body feels like wild. Like it's just buzzing. Yeah. Right. And there was a point where I was like doing like 8 rounds because I was so up here.
Yeah.
Like there's times when I'm so up here and I'm just like, okay, I need to go change this right now. Mm-hmm. And so I lay down on the mat and I go for like, 40 breaths, 8 rounds. Oh. And you start to see colors. You start to like, your body like starts tingling, but you feel like amazing after. Like you feel like a brand new person. Mm. It's been the greatest tool for me. And just like centering you in the present moment. Mm-hmm. And I find so much magic there.
Yeah.
And I always found it when I was like on stage. I'd be with everybody and like I'd get in that flow state. Mm-hmm. And even with dance or whatever, or even when I'm creating, but it's beautiful to find other things where you can get in that state, like meditation.
Yeah.
And it's accessible to everybody. You don't have to be artistic, nothing, right?
No. And to be able to get to that point where you're skilled enough that you can sit down and turn it on.
Yeah.
And it's there for you and you get what you need. Like that's the thing. A lot of people try meditation and they're like, oh, it's too hard, or I don't like it, or it doesn't work for me. Well, it's because with anything, it's a skill. And you have to put the time and effort and work into it to get it to the point where you can turn it on.
Yeah. Well, even in the space of like when you're panicking or when you're, because I know for me, like I deal with some anxiety too. And it's like, I've gone to a space that I'm really proud of where when I'm starting to feel that tightness here or whatever, or starting to, just all those feelings that you might get when you're feeling a bit anxious or whatever. And being able to have the awareness of like, I know what I have to do to change this, to change my state immediately. Because ultimately, the anxiousness is not going to help me get anywhere. Clarity is going to get me the answers I need. Yeah. Right?
It's so interesting because there's a great book out there called Dare by Barry McDonough.
Okay.
And he suffered with anxiety for decades. He met with, psychologists, psychiatrists, everyone trying to get help for him. But their approach is always to avoid or control anxiety. And you can't.
No.
You can't control it. It's like a wave. When it comes, if you struggle, you're going to die. And so
or think you are.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the key. You think you're dying.
Yeah.
And so how he describes it, how he finally came to this epiphany by, researching it and kind of working with people and then just coming with this understanding. And now it's been proven through science that when we are in our heads and we're in the future, we're causing anxiety thinking about those things that we can't control or are going to change on us.
Totally.
And so we create in our mind this anxiety situation as though it's there. Because our brain doesn't know the difference between if we're dreaming,
and
if
our
we're
body
imagining
doesn't
it,
either.
or experiencing it. Yeah. We get the same response. So when you create that fight or flight response, your body responds with adrenaline. Yeah. Because it floods the body so you can fight or you can run.
Yeah.
Now, if you're making up this scenario in your brain...
If you have an amazing imagination.
Yes. You think of all these things going wrong or these things you can't control, and you trigger this adrenaline response, this fight or flight. Yeah. So now your body's flooded with adrenaline, and if you don't use it by fighting or running, it's still there. And so the body has to work this adrenaline out of the system. So what does it do? It raises your heart rate. It tightens and releases the chest. It causes you to shake and sweat and breathe heavy. All these things that we call a panic attack is the body's method of releasing that adrenaline. Yeah. So I have a patient that whenever she has anxiety feelings coming on, she has a jump rope in her bag.
Love it.
She pulls it out and just jumps jump rope until that adrenaline is released, and then it's gone. So if you can't do that.
It's changing the physical response, and also, like, basically your brain is forced to focus on something that you're doing in that present moment.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Yeah. And you're taking that energy that's been produced and transforming it into action to release it.
Yes.
So if you can't get a hold of a jump rope, or you're on a plane, or you're in the car and you can't do something physical, you know, he's like, this is a natural process and you have to trust it. And so he always recommends people to, you know, distract your mind with something, work on a puzzle, or, you know, play a game or whatever, but trust your body to allow these sensations to work through.
Yeah.
And as they happen, within 20, 25 minutes, it all clears out and you're good to go.
Yeah.
But if you try to control it, if you try to fight it, you create a true adrenaline response.
Yeah.
And now you're caught in this loop of adrenaline spike, panic attack. That's why some patients, they'll have a panic attack that'll last like 8 to 10 hours.
Yeah.
And then they sleep for days.
Yeah.
Because
your adrenals are just shot. Yeah. And it's, I've really learned that it's like, you got to trust your body too. Like, I think there's this massive separation between mind and body. Yeah. And even like thinking, feeling, like energetically, we're energetic beings, right? And it's okay to feel, right? And I think that's something that music has taught me. And like, I'm also just an empath myself. So I've naturally felt things throughout my whole life, right? And it's like being able to notice like where you need to shift and come here and let those that energetic, I guess, wave ride out. Yeah. And that you're gonna get past it, you're gonna get through it. It's just a wave, right? And seeing it as just that, I think really helps you, I don't know, just center yourself a lot better in that moment. And for me, like, bringing myself to breath and like doing the Wim Hof method in times where I'm like, oh, I feel a bit of anxiousness in the chest, or, you know, I might be too much in the future or whatever. The Wim Hof method and has been my kind of source of, and just the fact that the awareness of being like, okay, this is what I got to do, which when I was younger, I didn't have that. I didn't know that. Right. Yeah. So it was just music or dancing that would get me out of my body. Or my mind, sorry. But now I have that tool. And I love those kinds of tools.
Yeah. Well, and it's crazy because Wim Hof, you're actually mimicking that response.
Yeah.
This panicking, you want to panic because you want to breathe. Yeah. And, you know, you're getting
basically hyperventilating.
Yeah, you're creating a very similar situation to a panic attack, but you're saying, but I'm controlling it.
Yes, I'm in control.
Charge.
Yes, yeah. And it's like knowing that you're the driver of your ship, you know, is super key. And it's like, you know, I am in control of this thing up here, right? I can, that true self is always there. And it's like, whether you want it to come up or not and start steering is up to you. Yeah. Right. And I'm grateful that I've had that awareness that has helped me, you know, use these tools to the fullest potential and help me to get through, you know, just those natural human responses. It's nothing bad. No. It's a natural human response. Yeah. It's all good. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And like you said, you just have to trust your body.
Trust your body.
And have some tools
to help you
know what to do while you're trusting.
Yeah, because I've noticed like lots of people don't have those tools. Like, I'm grateful because I've been exposed to those things, right? And that's what I love what you're doing about this podcast too, is you're broadening people's palettes, right? That there's not just one umbrella you have to be under to deal with something like anxiety or even just nervousness or whatever it may be. Because even meditation is great for anything, I think. Even when you're doing great, it's good to just do.
For sure.
Right? Yeah. And that's just awesome that you're doing this because it's really opening, you know, at least showing your world and your demographic, like, hey, these are things that you can use to help you through life, right?
Yeah, I'm hoping that, you know, as someone who listens, you know, the variety of guests we have, they're going to be like, I connect with her. That's my story. That's how I feel. Maybe what she's doing can work for me.
Totally, yeah.
Because like with anything, until we know someone, you know, with anything, it doesn't really shift in us.
Yeah.
You know, it's like unless you know someone, like, you know, for a while there is if you didn't know someone who's gay,
Right.
you had a hard time accepting gay people.
Well, and it just wasn't a part of your world.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, I totally get
And
that.
so I can understand why some people previously had very negative feelings. And
Well, you
they got
don't know
over
what
it.
you don't know.
Yeah. And it's the same now with COVID. COVID isn't real unless I know someone who's had it yet.
True.
And a lot of people are feeling that way. They're just like, oh, it's all a scam.
It's not a part of my world, so I'm not going to worry about it. Yeah.
But as soon as you know someone, like for a while, that was the same was with cancer.
Right.
When I was a kid, it was really rare for someone to get cancer.
Wow.
You didn't hear about it much.
Yeah.
Where now, there's very few people that don't know someone firsthand who has cancer.
That's interesting. Tell me more about that.
Well, just the knowing people with cancer?
Yeah, well, even just because I know, like, you've had a long practice and you've seen, obviously, like, people's health over the years. And you were just saying, like, you barely knew anybody that had cancer during that time.
Yeah.
I just was like, well, tell me more.
Well, when I was a child, I think I maybe heard of one person that had cancer.
Right. And it just wasn't in conversations either.
No. And it was something that people didn't share and didn't share. So it's very similar to mental illness, right? With anything.
Totally, yeah.
Cancer wasn't something you talked about. It wasn't. I think a lot of it, too, is it scared people so much.
Yeah.
Because all this comes back to fear, right?
Oh, 100%.
And so when we fear something like cancer, we didn't talk about it. Because we didn't know what to do. And it was this, like, because when I was younger, it was almost like a death sentence, right?
Right.
Whereas now, if someone gets cancer, the survival rates are so much better than they were, 40 years ago.
Right, yeah.
Where now it's like, oh, okay, well, which one did you get?
Right.
Because a lot of them, it's going to take a year, but you're going to be okay.
Right.
Where I think mental illness is the same thing.
100%.
And I don't particularly even like saying mental illness because, again, people don't see that as an everyday thing. Whereas it's like mental health issues, or like people who struggle through mental health, it's getting better, but it's this thing where, well, it scares me. I don't want it. So I'm not going to talk about it. And then we don't get that discussion and that same support and the same. So you see cancer now, it's people talk about it so much more. It's more open, all the fundraisers for it. Yeah. And it's only in the last 3 to 5 years that
more studies.
We're starting to talk more about mental health and pushing people to, share and express it and get it out there so that those that are struggling, those that are really struggling don't feel stigmatized and can get help. Same with addicts.
Yeah,
we do the same thing to
course.
addicts, right?
Yeah.
And then everyday people who struggle with, mild to moderate depression and anxiety and so on, they don't have to suffer in silence.
Of course, and everyone deals with it to a degree, and it happens ebbs and flows throughout life. And I know for people that are much older have talked to me, like, mental health is a journey, right? And it's something you continue to learn and build your toolkit along the way and see what works for you. What may have worked for you 10 years ago or even a year ago might not work for you right now in whatever space you're in, right? And I think knowing that, even just for me as a young woman, it's just like, that's great to learn that everyone is going through that journey. And it's always a learning process, right? And as long as there's a conversation, I think we can all learn from each other and know that we're all in the same boat, right?
It's very interesting. Kind of reminds me of a story when I was first married. We had friends who, and again, I was raised Mormon, so there's this expectation of these perfect marriages.
Of course,
and all this, and everything's eternal forever.
Yes.
And so we had friends, and they got married, and 2 weeks into their marriage, the wife wanted a divorce.
Wow.
And we're like, what happened? And he goes, dude, I have no freaking clue what's going on. She's also upset that we had a fight. And because we had a fight now, we can't.
We're never going to
Our marriage is never going to work.
We're toast, yeah.
And so from some talking, kind of working things out, what we found out is her parents had never fought in front of the kids. Ever.
Oh my gosh.
So in her mind, marriage is perfect. There's never disagreements. There's never any problems. It's just all happy.
Yeah.
But his parents fought in front of the kids all the time.
Yeah.
Not terribly, but they did in a point where
saw the disagreements and how they worked through it.
Yes, and there was apologizing in front of the kids, and they would work things out, and it was all very open.
Yeah.
And so from his point of view, he's like, I don't like this. I can express this and say it bothers me, and maybe we can fix it.
Yeah.
But in her mind, she's like, 2 weeks and we're already fighting?
And we're donezo.
We're never going to make it work.
Yeah.
So we need to get a divorce. And so just as this image and this, poor, because it's not necessarily poor parenting, but it's like poor modeling of how to be in a relationship. But we do the same thing with our mental health with our kids and people around us as we...
Right, not expressing what's going on. Because you're like, and that's the thing too, is like, parents are people too. And they're humans with their own things, and they're working through it. And they're trying to do the best they can. Yeah. And as a teenager or, younger kid, you think your parents are like rock stars, or they're not that cool, or whatever, right? Or they have it all together, they know everything, right? And it's when parents express their vulnerability and just like, hey, I'm having a hard day today, but I still there's still love here. We're going to work through it. That's really cool to see. And I know I've always been able to have really open conversations with my parents and my family in general. And I think that's what's been so amazing during even just my growth as a human is like, hey, I have this place, this safe place I can go. Yeah. And it's my family. Yeah. And my community, my healer community too. I've found my peoples where I can just be like, hey, I'm having like a shitty day. Or like something's going on in my brain. Don't know what's going on. I need help. I need tools. How do you get through this stuff? Help me. Right. And to have that conversation is so valuable. Yeah.
And so all of us need to take on that role to model openly balanced ways to not only discuss our emotions, but how to work through them. Yeah. Because again, I remember when I was a kid, I was angry a lot. And of course, all anger is caused by injustice. So everything was unfair for me. Of course, when you have 6 siblings and, you're raised in the Mormon church, and everyone's telling you to behave this way, but adults could do what they wanted, You
felt like you're in a box.
Oh, I saw injustice everywhere, and I was constantly angry. And when I would, the discussion I would get from my parents, especially my dad, would just say, only dogs get mad. Like I wasn't even allowed to, it wasn't even acceptable. And so then not only am I told that, your emotions aren't valid to express, but that those injustices that are happening are okay. And you need to suck it up as a kid because you're just not allowed to have that freedom. So just bred more anger, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
But, again, what an opportunity with our kids. One thing I'm always pretty good with my kids is if I'm feeling off and I'm in a bad mood and I say or do things, when I catch myself, I apologize to my kids. I tell them why I'm feeling a little off and I'm going to do something about it. And, I'll go do something or, and then I'm feeling better. Thanks, buddy. I did this. And So,
wow, you're like a super dad, honestly, and especially with your journey, because I've obviously, been around for, I guess, like a while. Yeah. You're just such a super dad. Oh, you're awesome.
And if you want to hear more about super dad, don't you have a podcast? I have another podcast with my son.
Yeah, I was listening to a bit of that. You guys have such a beautiful relationship. Yeah. It's so cool.
Yeah, Max is an awesome kid, and I had to definitely mark that podcast explicit. But
that's awesome.
But I figure, if the only issue I have with my son is that he swears.
Okay.
I'm totally fine with that. He doesn't swear at people.
Right.
He
it's
just likes
part
to
of his
say
language.
fuck a lot.
Right. It's just some fancy words to add into how he feels.
Yeah. But it's been really interesting to, have those great discussions with him. But, I think, he saw me go through divorcing his mom. Yeah. He saw, me in a different relationship and having other kids. And my role isn't to be a perfect dad, but it's to be honest and open and model the ways that he can, he has anxiety, so I have to show him how
lead by example.
We do it. And when we just tell kids to just suck it up and don't do that and be an adult, all these phrases that we say, but we don't teach, we don't model.
Yeah.
And, that's where kids get lost and upset.
Right.
Because what am I supposed to do? You want me to do this, but how?
Yeah. And I think with I believe 100% that children are the future. And it's we have to, as older generations, give them the tools and to help them along their journey too. It's a way of giving back and being of service. So the fact that you have that awareness about yourself and are able to communicate that to your sons and be that example is so amazing, because you're already being of service and feeding the next generation, right? And I think it's just more individuals being able to just start that conversation. And it's just asking good questions.
Yeah. And I think too, it's, giving parents the confidence and the permission to do it too.
Yeah.
Because I think part of it is they think, I struggle. I can't teach my kid anything. I can't, talk about those things because I'm struggling with this. So how can I help them?
Yeah.
But you don't have to fix your kids.
No.
You just have to, because if they can see you vulnerable and honest and open and, this is what I'm trying to get better, the things I'm applying, the tools I have, you're teaching your kid that, well, my mom's not perfect. I'm not perfect.
It's okay to mess up.
And they're working hard. And so when I'm struggling, it's okay because I know everyone else is.
Yeah.
And if we don't model that and be honest and open about that with our kids, then they think, because then they become adults and they're struggling with depression or anxiety.
Right.
And they're like,
how do I deal with my emotions?
Yeah, I can't talk to mom. She's never experienced this. I can't talk to dad.
Or she's not emotionally available for that either, right?
Yeah.
And I'm grateful throughout my journey. It's my parents have always been a great example of just modeling a really great way, just a household that supports one another and creates that open conversation. So even when we talk about whatever, it's just it's all good. Yeah. It's and it's okay if you're not feeling the best that day. Tell me more about it. What's going on? And then how do we move forward? How can I help you with whatever tools you need? Do we need to hook you up over here? And it's that conversation as the healer sometimes too, being able to just get it out with someone, and especially someone that you trust. And a parent too. It's me being able to go to my parents and be I'm feeling this way, or call them when I'm feeling a little anxious or whatever. And it's that's so awesome.
Yeah. Well, your parents are true rock stars.
They are.
Because I remember, 10 years ago, we've got, one parent is going to BC for hockey tournament.
Yeah.
And one of them is taking you to Young Canadians practice or a show.
2 hours a day for the drive.
Yeah. And every weekend for, I don't know how many years, your parents hardly ever saw each other.
Yeah.
Because they always had to split up because, one thing that's amazing about them is they've, always, they've accomplished a lot in their lives.
They have,
but also they, like you said earlier, what do you want to be? What's your dream? We're going to you can do this. You can make this happen. Everyone always wants to let their kids go and, follow their dreams. But most always say, well, do this first and then follow your dream, or have this as your backup.
Yeah.
Your parents basically said, oh, you want to play in the NHL?
Yeah.
Peyton? Okay. Yeah. Well, these are the things you got to do.
And it's hard work.
Yeah. So Peyton got up every morning at 7 and lifted weights since he was in grade 1.
He was doing crunches in his doorway. Yeah. All the boys, they have their, their
pull-up bar.
Pull-up bar. And yeah, I was like, you guys are weird. Yeah. But yeah, it's true. And they exposed us to a lot of stuff. And they were just feeding us just anything. You want to try this? Okay. How do I create a space that's safe where you can explore? And, you want to try painting? Well, let's give you some painting, like give you the tools to explore that side of yourself, right? And even with the boys, it was just like, oh, you want to go do this? Well, I'll help you. I'll get you there and we can try it out.
Yeah.
But my dad always was like, if I have to drag you there, obviously you don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Right? And that was another thing too, is like work ethic. Because...
Well, you all have amazing work ethics.
And that's like, if you want something, you got to work hard for it, right? And obviously my dreams are like, it's really big dreams. And especially with the boys too, they have really big dreams too. And I'm just grateful that my parents didn't make them look impossible, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you want to do this. We fully support you wherever you decide to go, but you got to put the work in too, right?
Yeah. And I like that they never made it their dreams.
Yeah. Yeah, that was big.
Because I think some parents, especially in hockey, you know, those listening, Maddison's, one of her brothers plays in the NHL.
Well, he's almost there. He's in the bubble right now.
Yeah, he's in the bubble waiting for someone to get hurt.
Waiting for somebody to get hurt. Just kidding.
But still, it's, you know, some parents, their dream was always to play in the NHL, and so they would put their dream on their kid. Your dad never did that.
No,
you know,
no.
You know, I don't know what your mom's dream was to be a singer or not, but she didn't push you in that direction because that was never her dream. But to allow you to have your own dreams and to follow your own path and not put their, you know, their path and their ideas on it.
Yeah.
You know, where, you know, being raised Mormon, there's this very specific path that your parents want you to follow and what will make them happy, and they make it their dream. Yeah. Yeah. And when you don't follow it, it hurts them.
Yeah. Disappointment.
Yeah.
And that's like,
And you can feel that when you're not following their dream.
Yeah.
And that not only do they create, you know, that depression or disappointment in their own lives, but you can feel that when parents do that to kids.
Oh,
so it's, you know, no one does it on purpose.
No,
but
of
it's
course
just
not.
kind
That's
of
all
what
they
happens.
know.
Yeah.
That's all they know. And it's like, I think knowing that is like, that's all they know.
Yeah.
Right? That's all they were exposed to. Right? And that's what I, like, as I said, like my parents were just like building individuals that were equipped for the world and life. Right? And I think that's what parents' job is. Like, I'm obviously not a parent, but from the outside looking in, it's like you're equipping an individual to take on the world, both all the good and the bad, right? And being able to be like, hey, if you want something, I'll help you get there. I'll support you. Here are the tools. But it's up to you. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, like, I think one thing I always teach parents is that kids need to fail often and early.
Yeah.
Because we learn from failure. We don't learn from success. Because when we succeed, we're like, oh, that was easy. I'll just do what I've always done.
Yeah.
But when you screw up, when you do something, you know, then you have that opportunity to learn from that and, okay, how do I do it differently next time?
Yeah.
And, you know, your parents gave you enough space
well, and
to learn
it's
from
all
your
about
mistakes.
Attitude. Like with failure as well. Failure, whatever that is.
In quotes, she did quotes.
Failure. I don't even know if it's failure because I know in spaces where I feel like I've failed or, you know, I'm not where I'm supposed to be, which I definitely feel like even now in my life, I'm definitely getting on a path where I'm like, oh, I start to feel something new coming along the way. But it's all about attitude. Yeah. And my dad was really good about that. He's like, work ethic and a great attitude. Because even when you're failing, it's like, okay, how do we rise above this quote unquote failure and see it as an opportunity? Yeah. Right? And it's really hard to see sometimes, right? Yeah. When things suck, right? Or when things didn't turn out the way you thought. Because I definitely have been guilty of that, of like having this idealized path in my head. Visual, because I'm a huge visualization, like I have a dream, I'm going to go get it. It's going to look like this, dot, 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 right? And when it doesn't go that way, I get mad, right? But I think what my parents are good at is like, okay, well, how can we look at this? Yeah. Right? You know, is this an opportunity for you to look at something else or like go into your toolkit and start, you know, cultivating even just self-development stuff that can lead you to other things, right? And lift your perspective,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, I've just noticed like through the times of like where I felt like what's next, like what am I supposed to do next? Like kind of asking myself like, what's my next step? Those are usually the times when that's where the magic happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I hate it, but it's like, it's usually there's something around the bend that's waiting, and it's just like wanting you to grow. Yeah. Really, right?
Yeah. So interesting. We put this judgment on everything, whether it's success or failure, good or bad. When we have no idea.
No.
We have no idea in the moment if it's good or bad.
Yeah.
Like one of my most favorite Zen parables is the one about the Chinese farmer. And so he wakes up one day and he goes out, and his horse had broken the fence open and ran away. And so all his neighbors find out, and they come by and console him. And they're like, oh, no, how are you going to get to market? How are you going to plow your fields? Think of all the negative things that came out of it. And one of the neighbors says, what bad luck? And the farmer said, maybe. The next day, his horse comes back with 5 wild horses. So now he's got all these horses now that he had before, fixed the fence, and he's got all the horses. His neighbors find out, they come by, and they're all like, oh my goodness, you'll be able to break all those horses, sell them, you make so much money, you can pull a real wagon now. What good luck? And the farmer says, maybe. And the next day, his only child is out trying to break the horses.
Yep.
Get them ready to sell or to use on the farm. And he gets bucked off and breaks his leg. And of course, back then, that's like, he's not going to be able to do anything for a long time. So all the neighbors find out, they show up, condolences, oh my goodness, now you got to do all the work by yourself. You got to get everything to the market on your own. Oh, what bad luck. And again, the farmer says, maybe. The very next morning, the military show up and they conscript all the young men in the village into the army. All but the farmer's son because of his broken leg. And here's all the neighbors all upset and sad, and, they congregate together and they say to the farmer, it's a good thing your son broke his leg. What good luck. He's going to be okay. And the farmer says, maybe. And so the whole moral is that something happens and we judge it for good or bad, but we don't know what is going to come out of that situation and how it could be really helpful. It could be something else. Yes. And we just decide everything is good or bad or this or that.
So reactionary.
Yeah. Rather than just accepting our path and going with it. Like, these new tattoos on my right hand.
Yes.
It's
badass.
Amor fati. And it's Latin for love your fate. Or love your path.
Love that.
Accept it. One of my favorite books is The Tao of Happiness.
Yeah.
And right at the beginning, the author says, this is the most important thing of this whole book. I'm going to tell you right at the beginning that you're supposed to accept everything that happens to you in the moment as though it was the right, the perfect thing for your path.
Yeah. And the human part of us is like, hell no.
Yeah.
This is shitty.
Yeah.
I'm not liking it, right?
Yeah.
But it's that self-awareness and that higher self that's like, I need to receive this and just be with it, right? Yeah. And I think that comes with emotions too when something comes and it's a wave and it's part of the journey, right? And I love that story because it shows that everything happens for a reason in a lot of ways, right?
Yeah. And I like how you've all become self-aware that when things get really tough like that and you get put in that corner and you're like, what do I do? What do I do? That's always when that next step is revealed.
Yeah. And because I have like conversations in my head all the time. And one of them, because there's been spaces where I've been in where I'm like, well, why isn't it working out this way or this way, right? Especially career-wise, like I'm just still navigating, right? And it always comes down to this is the part of life that you're going to talk about, right? Like these are the time in your life when there's so many question marks, which there always will be, but when there's some like big question marks and you're still figuring it out, from the people that I've learned from, it's like that have done really well, they say these were like the best times of their life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
when none of the things, there was a lot of the success or whatever was manifesting, right? And still unfolding, and you're still discovering, right? And I feel like I'm in that space always, right? Of just like seeking and learning. And I've definitely realized like it's just part of the process, and I have to, and it's a hard truth sometimes, but Yeah.
It must be frustrating when you're listening to a song and you're like, I sound better than them.
Oh, no.
My song is better than that.
No, honestly, like it's interesting. I've been like, oh, I wish I wrote that. Mm-hmm. And I've been like, oh, like, how do because I've listened to songs and I'm like immediately inspired by the writing and just even sonically and stuff. I'm like, how I love that. Like, and how can I learn, or like, it almost like gets me to like get back to the drawing board and keep creating. Right. Yeah. And that's what I love about even just the space of art in general, in all forms. It's like, we're constantly, you can look at it as like, for some people it's like competition or something, but for me it's like inspiration, right? And it's like, oh, that came through that person's soul and their eyes and their perspective and their own worlds, and they were able to express that, and it's like, oh, I love that. I'm gonna go to the drawing board. And like, I think as an artist too, it's having that vessel always open too, right? And just being able to just get in that flow and not get in the way, right?
And that's, again, like, it's grateful you have that tool of meditation, because, you can go there, get in that state, get in that flow state, and allow it to come.
Yes.
You can get out of your way.
Yeah. Because that's been huge for me in my entire life. I've been great at getting in my own way. Yeah. Like, I've been blessed with like a really great life. And like, I have an amazing community, even healer. You're part of my healer community, right? I've had, I'm grateful to have access to all those things and all those tools. But I find, my struggles, I've always tried to get in my own way sometimes. And it's like being able to find...
it's not on purpose.
No, it's not on purpose at all. It's just a natural human thing, right? Yeah. And I've been learning a great deal the past few years, especially, how to, through different things, how to get out of the way and let the things start flowing, because when that happens, magic is there, right? And even in conversation, like when you're with somebody, like really being there, right? It's not just in what you're good at too. It's like being there with someone, because that is a flow state too, right? When you're not thinking about what you're supposed to be doing tomorrow or what had happened yesterday, and you're really listening. I think magic can happen there too, where you can really help somebody. Yeah.
Well, and not only to be in that presence in the moment to help someone else, but what it does for our relationships.
Yeah.
Oh, you can be right in the moment with a relationship. Like I know with Chris and I, we have this tremendous connection. And
you guys are the best. I'm like, oh, you guys are awesome.
But when it's on, it's amazing. But, there's been a few times where we've both been like, we're out of sync. That connection's not quite where it was. And, then emotions change and there's this, that. And we can pick up on it fairly quickly, and we're like, whoa, we're not feeling each other. What do we got to do?
Right, to get into that
flow. To get
that
back into balance.
Yeah.
Because, like I've never experienced that with anyone before, like with her, where it's, just this high state, 95% of the time.
Yeah, and you can see it with you guys. Yeah. Like it's like gorgeous, your relationship. And the fact that you guys have the awareness of that and the communication is so beautiful. Like, and knowing that about each other, being like, hey, and like being able to be like, I kind of feel out of sync. Do you feel like a little out of sync, right? Yeah. And like, it's not the end of the world, right?
Yeah,
that's so cool.
Yeah, and it's because it's majority of the time it's me. But I'm grateful that she doesn't judge that. She knows that.
Of course.
And she knows that I'll find my way back eventually. Right. If she feels it's going on too long, she'll tell me. Right.
And that's amazing that there's that, like, that she knows that about you, right? and that there's that honesty of like, oh, you know, you just got to go through things because you're both people, right?
Yeah.
And that's beautiful. I love that.
Oh,
I love hearing that.
Yeah. So before we go, what, if you would like to give any advice or, tools or ideas that you use that you think, could be beneficial for people dealing with their mental health?
I think for me, it was really empowering knowing that I am in control of this. Mm-hmm. I have the power to do whatever I want with this, and my brain, my body, my reaction, I have control over that. And however I choose, it's up to me, right? And I'm the driver of my ship.
Yeah.
Right? And I think learning that is really empowering, because then when you're in spaces of adversity or you're feeling anxious or whatever, you know that you can trust yourself and you can get into that space of like, okay, I have the tools and I'm the driver of the ship, right?
Yeah.
And also that you're your own advocate too. Like, you know yourself best.
Yeah.
Right? And that takes time and awareness. And I'm obviously still learning a lot about myself, and I will forever and ever and ever. Right? As you as well. Like, you're still learning different things over time. And I think just knowing that you are the driver is like really empowering.
Yeah.
And really, really cool.
That's a huge message right now, because so many people feel powerless at this moment.
Yeah.
Whether it's the pandemic or, all the protests and riots or, the orange-haired monster.
That guy.
He who shall not be named. But these things that we're having externally, and everyone gets all worked up and they feel they have no power.
Yeah.
And they feel incredibly powerless. And, one thing I try to always teach patients in our courses is that, number one, you have no power externally.
True. Yeah. 100%.
Learn it right now, because trust me, you have no power over anyone else or what's going to happen out in that world.
Yes.
You can
Preach.
do things to affect change, but you can't.
With your two hands.
Yeah, but you can't force change.
No.
And then along with that, once you understand that, then you can understand that you have complete power, because you have all this power over internally, over how you respond. We don't want to react to the world. We want to respond to the world. And once we understand that and we learn the tools to get us in that place, to have that power, you can just look at the world and just give it double fingers and just enjoy it.
And be the observer too, right?
Yes.
Learning to be the observer, even of your own thoughts too.
Yeah.
And because especially this past year, with everything that's going on, and just even, it's been a really great learning experience for me, because as you know, I'm quite the empath, and it's like I can take on other people's things too, right? Yeah. And it's knowing that I can trust myself and I have the tools to balance my inner world. Because this is a little inner universe up in here, right? Yeah. It's another world. We're dealing with external and internal, right? And being able to shift your perspective on things and be a listener, and not only with other people, but with yourself too, puts you in a really cool position where you can learn and enjoy things a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. If there's chaos outside, there's no reason you have to let chaos happen inside.
No.
You can do something about it. It takes work.
Yeah, I'm not a pro by any means, but I definitely feel like I'm learning, and like there's a sense of freedom that is through that.
Yeah.
Like you feel more alive. Like you're like, wow. And this is what I was like missing out on. Like you feel like a child again almost. Like
I was just going to say
seeing the world with new eyes, right? Yeah. Like, and that's always been my thing is like, I want to be there where I'm always seeing the world with new eyes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, and being able to rise above and transcend, different patterns or things that might be holding me back. And that it's all really just a conversation that's going on in your mind.
Yeah.
It's just a conversation, right? And you can choose how that conversation goes.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's huge. And when I discovered that, I was like, whoa, guys, like, it's beautiful. Yeah. And I feel like for me, it's slowly but surely, like with everyday practice, because it's a craft.
Yes.
And an art.
Yeah.
I think it's completely possible. And I'm optimistic that, anyone can learn this. It's not just me, right?
Yeah.
It's anybody that can rise above in their own minds and get out of their own way and learn to control their ship, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, that's why discussions like this are great, because when you can see that, someone did do it, it is possible, it can happen, and that it's something that we're continually learning and working on. And some people need a little support through medication. Some people need a little support through, acupuncture or herbs or counseling, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You get those supports you need, but ultimately it resides with you.
Yeah. And like knowing that self-awareness of like, you know yourself best. No one else does.
Yeah.
Right? And, you can go to whoever, but it's you that knows in here what, and being able to look there in your heart to be like, oh, this is what I need, or this is my next step, or whatever it may be, to help you move on or move forward or let go. You're only going to know that.
Yeah.
But having those tools is so vital to get you there.
Yeah.
Right?
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Well, okay, we've gone quite long already.
That's okay. I was like, I was totally ready for a long convo because I know we could just chat forever. So,
Well, that was beautiful. Thank you so much. I know that someone's going to be listening to this, and not only are they going to be touched by your words, but they're going to go search on Spotify or Apple Music, and they're going to be touched by your music too. Thank you.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
All right, it's awesome. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Have a lovely day, and take care of yourself, and apply some tools to find some peace in your life.
Yes.
Thank you. All right. That was so much fun. It's really nice to sit down with Maddison and just, luckily for me, I've known Maddison since she was so young, and now to see the amazing, beautiful woman she's become inside and out, and the energy and passion she has for life and the tools she uses to find her peace and find her creativity. She's just super inspiring. And, I think I've seen her live, I don't know, 8-10 times, something like this. And it never gets old. She's just amazing. And I love her music. And I love her as a person. She's a total sweetheart, great family. And I really appreciate the things that she shared with us tonight. And just that ability to be so self-aware of, what she needed. Oh, there we go. To find her, her inner strength, and to find that balance that she needed in her life to be more creative, to kind of get out of her funk, and to become so self-aware to notice that it's happening, and then to work hard to develop tools to overcome it. Like, that's truly letting go of that funk, and to recognize that is my thoughts and my choices that's creating this. I have the power then to, take it back and get rid of that through my actions and my thoughts and my words. And that's so mature and so valuable. I'm really grateful for her sharing that with us. It was a really fun interview, and so many great things came out of that. I'm really grateful for her. if you want to be inspired not only by her words, but by her music, please take the time, search her on where you listen to your music, Maddison Krebs. Again, I'll have links in the description, but you will find at least one song of hers that, speaks to you. I can't even remember. One thing with me with music is I never remember. I'm not really good at lyrics. Ask Chris. I can't even understand what people are saying half the time. But I don't really remember names of songs. But I do have 3 of hers on our playlist here at the office that Patients love. And one of her recent ones that I really enjoy is she did a cover of a Post Malone song, and she does it better than Post Malone. Really, I think she does it way better. And it's on our playlist here. And it's really interesting when you're working with a patient, needling them, and the song comes on and they're like kind of rocking to it. And they're like, who is this? I recognize this song. But she's done so good at kind of making it her own song that it's hard to even collect that it's a Post Malone song. So to me, that is like the most ultimate compliment of a cover, when you can make someone's song yours. And she has done that. So take a listen. She's fantastic. But I hope we can all learn from her example and lessons. We talked about so much stuff, from parenting to meditation to music. And I hope you can take something from this, and hope it helps you find some peace and, get some strength from this. It's I really enjoy doing these podcasts. And, even if no one listened, I'd still do them because they inspire me and lift me up and give me new tools for me to use in my life to help with my mental health. Like I said before, I struggled with anger and other issues before when I was younger. And, it always put me on this path to search out more about our emotions and what's causing them. And, I remember years ago, I'm in university, I've got kids, I'm supposed to be a lawyer. That's what everyone thought, I kind of put in my path and the expectation. And I stopped and I read a book called Between Heaven and Earth by Harriet Benfield and Ephraim Korngold. And it was about acupuncture and the 5 elements. And it just blew my mind. And the connections that I learned then between the emotions and the organs and the body, like where our pain sits or how certain emotions affect certain organs, all of that, it just spoke to me and inspired me and put me on this journey to study acupuncture and Chinese medicine. And it has helped me out in so much, understanding more about myself and my emotions. And again, that's why we created the 5 elements of letting go, so people could walk the path and learn those tools and techniques to find that peace and get a power over their emotion, and use that energy that our emotions give us to make change and to get that peace we need in our lives. So if you feel this information is helping you and you want to learn more, there's links below about my course, The 5 Elements of Letting Go. And there's some free parts of the course you can take a look at. There's a personality quiz that you can take to learn more about the personality types within Chinese medicine, see where you fit. But it's really, a tool to help people really let go of trauma, let go of extreme emotion, and find that peace in their lives. And, whether you want to take the course or get some coaching or come in for some acupuncture, I'm here for you. My ikigai, my path, my passion in life is to help us all find peace with our emotions, because I let them rule me for most of my life. And I'm working really hard to make this shift and change. And I want to help others find that same gift. And this is, that's my purpose. So if this has inspired you and helped you out, I hope it's achieved that goal for me. And we're going to keep this going. We've got lots of other interviews already lined up. I got about 30 waiting to happen now. And these are incredible, loving people that inspire me. And, we need to have great conversations with people. And we need to listen and learn and support one another. And through these conversations and these lessons, we can help each other find peace and let go of our pain. So thank you again for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you, everyone. Love you. And, you are powerful. You have the tools, you have the ability within you. You know, it's your choice to give yourself back that power and learn the tools that can help you find peace. And I know you can do it, and I know you have the ability. So don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on this world. It is way better than it has ever been, and we're on an amazing path. I know it looks scary out there. I know it looks not good, but people are doing their best to make the world a better place. Believe in it, and it'll bring you peace. Don't fight it. Don't bite into the chaos and, you know, all the conspiracy and the junk out there. You know, life is good. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.